Hi, welcome. On this video, as part of my series called Flipping the Script, I'm going to be providing insight and context into this very popular concept called counter conditioning when it comes to attempting to overcome a reactivity by way of dogs that are expressing control towards, in this case here, a cat. And again, I talk about, why it is that many dog owners who invest in this learning-based idea of things, who engage in trying to shift focus, how they are left feeling like a hamster spinning in the wheel of this ideology versus being able to truly change perception of dogs the right way in terms of fading in, as I call it, in terms of dogs perceiving you in the relationship the right way, which changes their perceptions towards everything else. Okay, so again, understanding what a process represents. So again, when I talk about here, I'm going to play some of this video. This video just came up in my feed as I put the word counter conditioning in. And so again, dog owners are looking for, searching for information. How do I resolve issues with my dog wanting to chase, the cat? I'm a cat owner. Okay. In fact, I have a video on my website pertaining, see me working with a dog, with my cat, within close proximity. But here I want to again talk about building bridges. Okay. Talk about, the right way to change perception of dogs by way of the core ingredients. Okay, I talk about by way of intentional control. So I talk about intentional control being connected by way of a leash. Okay, during an exercise like this, and influence. Okay, being transferred through the leash. Okay, by way of taking the form of a nudge, okay, to intercept a dog's state of mind as a dog is beginning to fixate, beginning to express control, manifesting through a dog's state of mind. Again, this is what I talk about this whole, providing clarity by way of the role of influence with, interrupting, intercepting, breaking that, connection, breaking that stinking thinking. Because even when I talk about, the predatory drive of a dog, okay, towards other animals, how everything filters through the relationship. Understand that, everything, your role is absolutely critical when it comes to dogs as social animals. But those two core ingredients, influence and control, are necessary. Okay, they need to be part of the equation, but their role themselves, and again, talk about one of the big themes is proactive. Okay, so it's not about being delayed or waiting for a dog to start to really fixate at a high level. Okay, once you understand the dog is already doesn't have a healthy way of thinking about, say, cats or other people, is you want to be proactive in engaging the dog's thinking. So it's the just as, and this can manifest through just as the eyes start to shift towards, that's a time to nudge, okay? And therefore, you'll be able to get away with just nudging, okay? And the dog's going to be more agreeable to that because it's the just as part, okay, that, makes all the difference, okay? Being proactive. Just like, again, use the parenting example. Once a child has become selfish, right, as a parent, you're going to be more successful. Okay, the just as part, right? Knowing how the child's already thinking, understanding you're dealing with a relationship problem with a selfish child. The just as part is the proactive role, right? We're stepping in. And again, I use the parenting example by way of a child, waiting, okay, for them to go into the toy aisle, delaying in terms of, addressing the stinking thinking part, okay, and therefore being delayed. And then as the child's pulling the toys down on the, off the shelves, and then deciding, okay, now I'm going to jump in, that's going to be problematic. But that's what relates to, even when I talk about, say, balanced dog training, you know, we talk about corrections, the reactive, not being dialed in. Well, that's part of the problem as well. Okay. Understand that this is one of the big themes here through the system. What again makes a big difference is the issue about being proactive, okay, nudging. And so again, you want to intercept. Now here in this video, we're going to see the trying to generate, right, focus, right, trying to change focus, trying to shift focus away from, and the cat is down the hallway here. And this dog owner again is treats. Okay, I understand that this is a whole issue about treats, using treats to maintain focus or shift focus. But understand the problem here. I talk about the whole clarity through the role of influence. It's no different. The way you want to see this is, again, going back to the parent example, is a parent who engages in, okay, trying to change focus, trying to gain agreeableness. Okay, I talk about the context of agreeableness, to the themes of bribery, accommodation, and negotiation. Okay, once a relationship problem is underway, by way of the parenting example, once a child has already become selfish and you're engaging in those themes, absolutely you can gain agreeableness, just like you're going to see here, maintain focus within the parameters of those themes. But the question you have to ask yourself is, do those moments themselves, once I shine the light on or provide clarity and context here, do those moments truly represent that perception change in the right way? Well, in the parent example, absolutely not. Okay, and that's, dogs as social animals. See, that's the same issue here. Okay, with these concepts based on how they align to this idea that training is a learning-based exercise. Okay, once a relationship problem is underway, and see, that's the dot that you hear trainers never connect. Okay, the fact you go into seeking help in the first place is that you're dealing with behavioral issues as a result of a relationship problem. Okay, dog has gained control in the relationship and is manifesting, okay, towards, say, in this case, a cat, maybe other dogs, the reactivity issue. Then there's stress on the dog as well because of that. So, but the solution, the bridge building part of it, and again, if you watch my videos, you'll see what the replacement for this concept is, by way of, and you'll see it coming through the push-pull method. Okay, you can check out my YouTube channel with how I'm doing that. Intentional control, influence, and even by way, again, of intercept the dog state of mind by way of nudging, okay, of starting to, break that connection. And what that does is it shifts the focus the right way onto the human, onto the dog owner. You'll see the dog's head turn towards in those moments. You don't reward those moments either, okay? Understand that the positive is the fact you're taking stress off the dog. Okay, it makes sense to the dog. Okay, how you engage, the role of influence makes sense to the dog. The dog comes into agreement with. So understand this is totally upside down. Okay, how you want to see this issue of using treats here? I'm going to play some of this video.
So in this video, we're going to use the principles of counter conditioning and desensitization.
So talking about desensitization, understand these sound like fancy words, right? You hear this, that sounds very scientific. This is bribery, okay? Understand that this is nothing more than bribery. We talk about desensitization, talk about changing the feelings of a dog. You hear these words all kind of interjected into this superficial appearance-based narrative. I talk about the problem by way of control, okay? Dog gaining control in the relationship in and through the human. It'll offer up a false image of change. Okay, understand that control provides fulfillment, comfort. Okay, just like you can go back to selfish child. Selfish child can look well behaved most of the day as they're doing their own thing, playing their video games. But again, right, and think about this, the reactivity issue, even in terms of, dog going to a level of challenge by way of the core ingredients, influence and control coming into a interaction. You'll see that rise up with the dog that's gained control in the relationship. No different going back to the selfish child example. Consider the moments where a parent's, putting demand onto parental influence part of the equation, put a demand on the child to say, example, you just pick up your toys because, it's your room and it's a reasonable demand. You wouldn't say that, but it is a reasonable demand. You say, pick up your toys. Reconciling the roles, right? It's like a social contract. But for the selfish child, right, you're going to get pushback typically, right? You're going to say no. Versus, and you understand what the whole dog training world's based on, well, pick up your toys and here's $100. You get a really fast response, right? But the question you have to ask, based on the current state of the relationship, that point of time that you're, engaging a relationship problem, ask yourself the question: do those responses, based on that, that point of the relationship with the selfish child, do they represent merely based on, a very superficial way you're doing it for an exchange of currency for $100? Do they represent change? Absolutely not. Absent, again, going into this whole issue about the role of the parent, parental influence, right? You have to connect dots. And see, this is the problem with dog training world. Those dots aren't being connected. Okay, so people wonder, and this is the other add-on here, how common it is for people, and it happens all the time, to invest in this idea. And just, you'll see that you have to keep reapplying it, reapplying. Oh, it looks like it's working. It's not working, okay? You're still going to have a relationship problem. You're going to see it, those core ingredients, certain times the dog's on the leash. You'll see challenge rise up, right? And you'll feel like, and then, bad things happen, right? So here, and again, when you hear desensitization, it's like trying to change the emotional state of a dog. What comes to control, the reason you're experiencing a relationship problem in the first place, because the dog has gained control through this social connection, right? The dog's, even through emotion, the dog becomes empowered through that, and the dog will seem okay. Understand, dogs can, within a home environment, can appear balanced most of the day, off leash as they're moving around, even while they're gaining an incredible amount of control in the relationship, and they will appear okay. But again, consider how a selfish dog can appear okay. But ask the question: when is truth revealed? Through certain moments of the interplay with the parent. Hey, do this, okay? Or a demand comes online. See, that's the problem here. Is this whole thing is based on appearances, okay? It does not. There's no depth at all. It's completely out of context. And so we talk about, the emotional state, but people will buy into this. Understand that people that buy into this and will keep buying into it, even if you're spinning your wheels, are the ones that are very emotionally connected with their dog. Okay, they fear, and then the reactivity part of it, right? Once they start to take control, and then they'll go from a collar to then a body harness, trying to accommodate. There's that theme again. And then it'll appear okay to a certain point, but it's not, and the dog's stressed. So understand, this is a type of pattern. This is a loop that people can't get out of, because the ability to work through a relationship problem comes to understanding your role. The role, again, those core ingredients, influence and control, how they're reconciled through and here's the solution, okay, here's the fix, a intentional interaction-based method, okay, that speaks the right language. Okay, through the interaction part of it, and then being able to rebuild bridges. Okay, so again, right relationship, the dog gets along with the cat. Okay, everything all comes up. But understand that this is totally upside down here. This follows the themes of bribery, accommodation, negotiation.
To stop him from reacting. Now, he is really interested in the cats. And every time the guardian moves back the hallway behind me and opens the baby gate, he hears the sound of it and he wants to run over there.
Interesting word there. Let's back that up.
He wants to run over there. The baby gate, he hears, and every time the guardian moves back the hallway behind me and opens the baby gate, he hears the sound of it and he wants to run over there.
Guardian. Okay, I've said this word before, versus, dog owner. Okay, understand language too. You hear certain language in the dog training world, it'll key up on how people perceive their role. Okay, understand that. And this aligns with those core ingredients I talk about as well.
So what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to use counter conditioning to stop him from reacting. How about we sit up, buddy? I'm not sure if the camera's going to get you from there. We're using a tripod because there's only two of us. All right, so
right? This is just pure bribery, right? Using a motivating agent, such in this case a treat, right, to generate focus. Understand that, but again, you have to apply critical thinking here in the sense of, okay, the same themes, right? Because I talk about when does bribery become bribery? Bribery becomes bribery when you fail to connect dots. Okay, the current state of the relationship, the reason that you're, trying to, right, change behavioral issues, right, is because you're in the middle of a relationship problem. And so this whole thing about focus itself, it's context, and understand the entire dog training world, okay, whether it's balanced or force free, they're all aligned with this idea of trains and learning based exercise. Totally wrong. Okay. And then look at all the inherent problems, right? Just, all these concepts, how people are trying to gain traction in the relationship. But those two core ingredients I talk about, they're missing. Okay. Or through balance training, they're barely there. Okay. So it has to take the path of a type of power play, but it's not a type of power play where it's meant to engage in a battle with your dog. Okay, they have to align. Okay, the integrity of those core ingredients have to come in the right way. The only way that can happen is through a interaction based method.
Come on, buddy, you can get it. Come on. Come on. All right, come on. Come on, Morgan. Or, sorry, Morgan, not talking to you. All right, so what I'm doing for this is I'm smashing it and I'm letting him nibble on it on a little bit of pieces.
So here's the same thing. So even understand that you see a lot of these trainers out there who are trying to work off of a baseline, right? Like a moment of calmness, right? And the problem with that is this whole issue about stinking thinking, okay? This issue of inherently flawed assumptions, right? So when they talk about a neutral state or a moment here where the dog is like focused on the treat, the dog owners and trainers assume that that's a moment that represents change. That's a good moment. And that's inherently flawed. Okay. Think of again, I use the selfish child example where a selfish child is mouthing off at the parent, like over something the child didn't get, and just mouthing off and just disrespect and mouthing off. And then out of nowhere, the parent pulls a chocolate bar out of their back pocket and just holds it, kind of to the side. And suddenly the child is like focused on the chocolate bar. The mouthing off part stops. Okay, there's a moment of calm. But ask yourself the question, does that moment itself represent change? Well, no. It's that whole thing about shifting focus by way of the theme of bribery, right? But understand that's what's happening in the dog training world with how this concept's applied. It totally disregards the dog's state of mind in terms of the relationship itself, in terms of why behavior issues are happening in the first place. The dots don't connect, right? And so trainers, including all, like talk about balance and force free, both these groups work off of this idea of things. And I talk about probably clarity. No, it's about intercepting, okay, that state of mind.
Now the guardian is standing behind me. In a second, she's going to go down, or she's walking down the hallway, kind of progressive.
Yeah, guardian. I heard it right. I wasn't sure the first time. So, words, right? Understand there's everything, what you say, and even when I talk about when you're petting on a dog in that moment, you're assuming something. Like really think about stuff. When you're petting on it, rewarding a dog, what are you assuming? You're assuming the perception of changing. That typically is inherently flawed. Okay, and then that becomes a problem because that layers up to empowering the dog through that type of emotional connection. So understand the whole dog training, what the whole dog training world is based on, this process is totally inherently flawed.
Because we don't see that she's doing that. When I say a number, she's going to make a tiny little sound on the gate. Now, when you're doing desens or counter conditioning, you need to make sure that you control the elements so that whatever the dog is reacting to is low enough intensity that the dog is not freaking out or reacting.
Not freaking out. God forbid you should, get this cat up here too close. But because that's the whole thing. This is the whole walking on eggshells thing too. It's like, but so here it's this whole thing of trying to establish some basis, some foundation in terms of of focus But understand that the whole issue here about the relationship itself, and here's the other thing, like 5 minutes into a relationship problem, like rewarding, assuming that those certain responses can be represent change. That's ridiculous. I mean, do you honestly believe the relationship's cleaning up that quickly? And then consider the fact that those core ingredients I talk about are totally absent. Okay, total deception.
Reacting to it. So every time I say a number, she's going to make that sound. Before she says the number, I'm going to be delivering the treat. Now, I'm holding a treat. I'm going to smash it. Are you back in place?
Yep.
Okay. So before we do this, in this case, seeing her walk down there and then hearing the sound would be a combination. That would be too much. So what I'm doing here is I want to have him looking away, and I'm going to say like 19.
So this is trying to, again, generate focus. Understand, being able to express control over a cat, right? And then, add on to that the fact that, in terms of how the human is connecting with a dog, dogs are pack animals, dogs' social needs aren't being met. Okay, the dog has gained control in the relationship. So then, therefore, control becomes issue about fulfillment to the dog. It's going to be expressed. Okay, there's nothing to stop it. Okay, and here, trying to establish change through, again, engaging in bribery, because, again, understand that people have certain ideas of, discipline, punishment. See, all these themes, the same reason there's like different styles of parenting. But again, if you consider the permissive parenting style and look at the consequences, you see the same type of theme. The real issue never gets fixed. All right, it changes the focus onto, say, the dog is the problem rather than the human. Reconciling your role, because that's where change comes through. It comes through the human. When I'm going in and helping dog owners, I'm barely looking at the dog. My entire focus is on the human. But here it shifts the focus onto the dog as the problem, right? And doesn't advocate, doesn't reconcile the role of the human by way of those core ingredients: leadership, right? Engaging the right way, interacting the right way. So again, my encouragement here, again, when you see this, it does play into people's emotions. But again, there's a reason why people are left spinning their wheels, right? They feel like they're gaining some traction by way of what's offered up in certain moments. But the problem is the relationship never gets better. So again, you check out my website. Again, the replacement for this, okay, is by way of those core ingredients happening through, again, just intercepting the dog's state of mind by way of being proactive in that, by way of a nudge. The push-pull method, you'll see that demonstrated on my YouTube channel. But again, my encouragement is, again, consider what a process is, but consider, again, you want a better relationship. You want your dog to get along with, your cat, other animals. It comes through a process defined through a intentional interaction-based approach. Thanks for watching.